Welcome to the Path Podcast, where we will travel the lives of some bold women, from dreams to detours to destiny. She did not choose this path chose her. This is the Path Podcast. Welcome back, everyone, to the Path Podcast with your sister, your motivator, your confidence builder, the one who believes that purpose is bigger than obstacles. Well, today, ladies, let me start by quoting from the book of Mary J. Blige. Good morning, gorgeous. And if you're listening to this, whatever time of the day it is, good afternoon, good evening, nevertheless, it's still good morning, good evening, gorgeous. Ladies, in your quiet time, I want to ask you, when no one is around, when you're just sitting with self or looking in the mirror, what are you speaking to yourself? Is it love? Or are you fighting against yourself? For some of us, unconsciously, of course, we're trying to prove our sense of love through our achievements, some through our job titles, our relationship status, and some of us even our bank account. But we know life is full of ups and downs. Health can transfer into disease, success can turn into collapses, and romantic love, unfortunately, can be transformed into coldness. Life happens, right? And it's full of not so happy times. But no matter what happens on the outside, we can still have a solid foundation built on love. I read a quote that said, self-love, self-respect, and self-worth. There's a reason they all start with self. You can't find them in anyone else. That was an anonymous quote. I've also read where studies show that capturing our thoughts and feelings on paper, participants often reveal a considerable range and depth of emotional trauma at times. And writing down and writing in a journal is very helpful for most of us. Well, today, if you find yourself needing assistance in this area, this is the show for you. I have the right guest coming in to help us to start journaling our way to releasing whatever is bothering us or getting to us that we probably need to write down, or making us not to feel that true sense of self-love. Like I've said when I started the podcast this year, we're talking truly about our authentic selves and how we can get to our authentic selves so we can start living out the purpose that we're supposed to live. Well, today, ladies, let me tell you, I wanted my guest to speak and tell us about herself, but she's just the most humble person ever. And when I tell you the topic, obviously it's going to be about self-love. She is the epitome of love to me. When you see her, when you talk to her, she exudes love. And I mean that, Trinette. My guest is none other than Trinette L. Collier-Greene. So let me tell you a little bit about Trinette before I welcome her in. Trinette, as you would know, is coined this inspirationalist. Trinette coined herself that through advocacy of life and celebration that her gifts and talents have manifested. Trinette provides workshops and ideas for groups and individuals who desire to improve relationships with themselves and others. This is done through strategically designed blueprints that are tailored to each specific client. These strategies foster measured success that enhances vertical and horizontal relationships. In her personal life, she hails from California. You will hear her talk about, and if you follow her on social media, you know she has a love for Los Angeles, California, but she has made way to the Georgia area. She is the eldest of 5 children, a military kid. I don't want to say brat, but a military kid. She is a former educator, and today she is a full-time entrepreneur. In her professional life, she also has a nonprofit called TLC Selfless Servings. She has a heart for giving and feeding the homeless. She's an author of the award-winning book, Woman on Fire. So, Path listeners, help me welcome in Trinette L. Collier, the inspirationalist. Yay! I need to get some sound effects in here. How are you?
Good. I am, you know what? I'm breathing. The sun is peeping out today, but I'm good. I am no complaint.
Oh, let me tell everybody what we're going to talk about. Steps to self-love.
Yeah.
And we'll tell you what that is in a second. It's a 30-day journal to building self-love.
Yeah.
I kind of told you that, but I wanted it to come from her. We're going to talk about how and why it's important to practice self-love, the benefits in journaling, and why you should start today. And I have a question. Do you love yourself? Do you see past all of you, and are you okay with yourself? All of your abilities and some of your failings. That's why I have Trinette in here, because I felt like this was important for us to talk about the first of the year, as we're talking about the authentic me. And everyone, if you have not listened to all of the episodes, let me first say she was in episode 3 of the Path podcast. Go back, you will hear how transparent this woman is. She's told her story. She's been telling it for years. And to what she's telling us today, it is like full circle of a person who has gone through some things that has been very hard, traumatic, to where she is today. So I want you to know, when I say she exudes love, you will hear it in episode 3, and you just want to hug her from that episode. So you would want to hug her. So make sure you go back and check out episode 3. We're talking about your book, Steps to Self-Love. Tell us about your journal.
So well, first of all, thank you so much for having me again. Anything that's positive, and you are doing such an amazing job. I love your podcast. It has reached, it's reaching, and it has reached millions, believe it or not. Because that again is needed. So thank you so much for being obedient and doing it. I'm proud of you. So steps to self-love, of course, is start tackling every problem strategically. And it sounds like it's like, ooh, complicated, but it's not. It's not complicated at all. And one of my goals, I did not want to make this journey complicated. And I stated that in my journal. I don't want this to be, because life is already hard, it's challenging, And when you're trying to get yourself together, we're constantly given all of this advice from, every which way, good advice and some not so good, and sometimes we get a little confused with it. So I wanted to, when I created this journal, I wanted to make it, I didn't want to make it complex and just really complicated. I wanted to be as easy as possible, but to let people know that you still have to do the work towards your healing. And of course, for me, everything happened because of my past relationship with Woman on Fire, and just the beginning of that. And of course, I did not see all of that. I did not see any of this, I did not want to talk about what happened in my past, but I see, now where I am now, I now know that God had a purpose, and it was all in his plan for me to, talk about self-love. Because again, but during that time of my trials and tribulations, I did not know my self-worth. And in order for you to love on other people, in order for you to be in other relationships with your coworkers, with friends, significant others, you have to love yourself first. And that's why I say I have to start with self. I'm not a marriage coach. I'm not a dating coach. I'm not trying to hook nobody up. I have to start with self, so a lot of people are like, can you hook me up? No, that's not the type of relationship coach I am. I'm not hooking nobody up. So that's me. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey to get to this step. And I still grow. I'm still growing.
Still growing. And everyone, let me tell you, she said it stemmed from the first book. And I was going to say we'll talk about that later, but it leads into why you wrote this, you did this journal. So, and your first book was called
Woman on Fire. And it was
Woman on Fire.
Yeah.
And tell us, what is that, a brief conversation on what that was about, just really fast.
So that book was really about my journey after going through my journey after divorce. So it's not a man bashing, it's not an ex-husband bashing book. It really talks about what happened to, like, what I learned in the process, and it came from journaling. I kept a journal during I keep journals for pretty much everything. And
Mhm.
I kept a journal for my marriage, and I do again, I still do. And so the book really came from my journal. And so God, and it actually was supposed to probably be a thicker book, but God gave me the piece, the entries to write about. And I did not want to write about it. I was not writing to become a best-selling author or any of that. I really did not, because I'm a very private person.
Yes.
And so when God said to release this, it was, again, I was hesitant, I was disobedient, and I kept it on the shelf. I allowed people to buy it, and
Mhm.
people were like, well, you should have marketed this, that, and other. But it just wasn't what I wanted. I was trying to be obedient to be like, okay, Lord, I got this checked off the list that you said. I'm gonna go
Yes.
ahead and do it, but then didn't know that book was going to lead me into the journal and everything else,
Mhm.
the my podcast and the dancing and all that. I didn't know it was going to lead into all of this.
Mhm.
So of course those are steps, and that's where the title pretty much came from, the steps that I actually had to take towards my healing and to
Mhm.
really know my self-worth.
Yes, thank you for saying that, because everyone, again, I just wanted her to give you that backstory to let you know this is not someone who just, again, put a journal together
Yeah.
just because and just to make money. And so I just needed everybody to hear her process. And like she said, the steps,
Mm.
which of course, which makes sense. You entitled it Steps to Self-Love,
Yeah.
a 30-day journal to building self-love.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. And everyone, again, you mentioned that she said it's not male bashing. Your book wasn't male bashing. Yeah.
Now listen, I want people to know I had my moments, and sometimes those triggers. And I was just talking about this the other night on Truth Moment Tuesday. Sometimes the enemy will creep up with triggers,
Yes.
and he'll sneak up and it try to knock you off the game. And I want people to understand, and that's why it seems like he's really transforming me into a transparent coach, because I want people to understand you're going to have those triggers,
Yes.
but you have tools to help you fight those triggers, because sometimes it can be anything, and that lets you know it's like, oh, I need to tackle that again, going back to that step, I
Mhm.
need to tackle that problem that just came about, and how can I get rid of this, how can I continue to
Yeah.
heal from it and so forth. But I just did not want to put anything together. And it's, there are a lot of people out there that just put stuff together. I'm just gonna be
Yes.
honest. They
Yes.
just put journals together and having you just to write on lines or whatever. But
Mhm.
there was a unique purpose for this journal. And again, I went through it for a decade before this came out. So it wasn't like I put it out 30 days ago or a year ago. It was actually in the making over 10 years and so forth.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to emphasize that to people, that I went through this. So, I'm able to say, hey, these were actual steps that I took, so.
I love that, Trinette. And no better way, and no one else I would love to ever learn something from or get something from is somebody who I felt like did the work. You feel that connection.
Yeah.
I feel when I even first met you, I felt that connection that you
Yeah.
connect with some people.
Yeah.
And that's what I get when anytime you put something out, I
Yeah.
feel, I know it's partly because I know you now. I didn't know her
Yeah.
at the beginning, everyone, but I know her now. So I know, when we all take those steps, and she's offering steps to you that worked for her. And
Yeah.
the one thing, because I want to ask you this question, and I know it's different for everyone, but tell me, what does self-love mean to you?
For me, self-love, it is really, oh, it's knowing your worth. We focus in on self-care, right? That's the buzzword lately, especially since the pandemic, the self-care,
Mhm.
and it all goes hand in hand. But self-love is really being kind to yourself, when you put things in place for you, when you set those boundaries for yourself, that is being kind to who you are. You're actually you're walking in your authentic self, and you're saying, hey, this is me, from mind, body, spirit, soul, and whatnot. When you're finally comfortable with who you are, and then that doesn't mean that sometimes because I dealt with a lack of self-confidence, over the years and so forth. However, I had finally got to the point where it's like, you know what? Hey, this is me, my attitude, my spirit, because believe it or not, I struggled with I was always the person that was different, meaning I saw the good in everybody, in everything, over time. And even down to my family and friends, they'd be like, Trinette, please. Like it's the no. And I'd be like, but and I would always come with the positive, and I would just find that good no matter what. And I used to cry out to God, like, why can't I see what everybody else sees? I literally thought I was cursed. I'm like, Lord, I know that person is bad. Everybody else can see the person is bad, but I cannot see. I know there's some good,
Yeah.
And I just, for the life of me, but then he had to show me, like, because I need a light. And it wasn't to diminish no, that person or that thing it did have some darkness in it.
Yes.
But the love that he has shown me, I had to just show it. I had to, let people know that there's good in everybody. Somewhere down the line, the light was just, it was put out by something. So for me, I allow grace and mercy. And a lot of people are unable to do that. And it's not an easy task. So that self-love was part of my journey to say, this is who I am. And I had to accept that. And I struggled with that for a long time. So self-love for me is literally being able to be in a place where I have accepted myself from who God made me, and he created me. I'm an empath. So it's like, he placed that in me for a certain reason.
Yes.
Now, before I used to, like I said, I'm like, God, why did you curse me? Why do I, see, why am I seeing things differently? And then some people are like, you can't be that positive. And, what hurt, like, because I'm like, well, I can't help it that I'm positive. Like,
Yes.
People literally would get mad at me because I was too positive, And so I'm just like, and then it would cross over. Oh, there you go in La La Land. And I'm like, yeah, because you have your realists.
Yes.
And then you have people be like, Trinette, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. I just, and like I said, now, thinking back, I'm like, okay, God, this is who you made me to be. You created me, And it's not to say anybody else is wrong, but this is my path. This is me. And that's myself. That's self-love, And no matter what, no matter what I tried to change it. I literally tried to change myself. People are like, are you mean? I'm like, I can be mean, but it's not gonna happen. Yeah.
And everyone, I'm glad I said it earlier where I said she's the epitome of like someone who walks and exudes love. You feel that from her. And that's why everyone shouldn't be surprised when you say that you are the most positive person.
Yeah.
I feel like I am one of the most positive people as well.
Yeah, you are.
Ours is different.
Yeah.
We all look at the other person and we see so many great qualities in that person. Yeah. And we wonder, why can't I be XYZ? And it's like, no, God made me to be who I am. The way I am positive is going to be different the way you are. And I'm glad you came to the realization that, sometimes people need to go in their I don't want to say your La La Land.
Yeah.
And see the good in some people, as well as learn to see, and differentiate yourself. And you said earlier, set boundaries. We know we have to figure out those people that we do need, or those situations also that we need to set boundaries for our own peace and our own protection. So,
Exactly.
but we need the people like you in the world. And that's why we have to start walking in our true, authentic selves, because now you feel like Trinette can be herself. So
I am very comfortable now. Like, again, I just come to the realization. I'm like, hey, I'm 51 now, and I've come to the realization, it's like if I can't accept myself, how do I expect others to accept me for who I am? We're always preaching that, like accept me for who I am or whatever, but a lot of times we don't know who we are. And so we struggle with that. And I did struggle with that, because I was trying to fit in with everybody. Like you said, I was trying to be something, or I was trying to be people that I just knew that I wasn't. It's like I'm trying to fit in with the education side. I'm trying to fit in with my hood friend side. I'm trying to fit in with the church people. Like I was just trying to fit all over. And it's just like, no, Trinette, just be who you are. Like I am just that person. And if you can't accept me, then hey, I'm good with it.
And all those groups should be able to accept you, even the church.
Right.
He'll mold me into it, not people. He
right,
will mold
right.
me if I need to be molded in a different way. So
right.
that's a wonderful thing. And I'm so glad again to hear all of that, because even some of the points you're making is some of the stuff I read and wrote down about walking, and some of those steps, the steps to self-love and how we start working towards that. So you say you've been starting to write ever since, for years. You've always been a writer, or that's something
You know what?
to do?
I started, back in the day we had diaries. They called them diaries. So I had my first diary, and I still have it. And looking back, I would enter writing contests at school. Oh, wow. And I remember winning them, like first place or whatever, because I really love in my imagination. I would just write, and I create these stories. But I never thought about growing up becoming a writer. My focus was becoming a teacher. That was it. So anything outside of that, I didn't think big in that sense. I didn't think about writing as, that was just a hobby for me. But I also knew that being the oldest of five, I'd never had that privacy. So that was part of my safe space, So and I never, and I love being around my family. I love being around people, and I was never alone. So, but that was my alone moment. So when I'm journaling, writing little notes and so forth and hiding them, that was my safe space. And of course, my mama would find some of my notes, and back then you were writing about which boy you liked and such or whatever. And she would find them. I'm like, doggone, I gotta find better hiding spaces. So I found myself writing, but just never thought about writing as, as a career. So, and even now I have so many books in me. I want to say this without discouraging anybody. I don't want to write. It's kind of like not a hate-love situation. It's like you have to really be in that moment where it's time for you to release it. And I know it's coming soon. I know it's coming soon, because there are some books that needs to follow up with Woman on Fire, because people are like, you're going to do a part 2? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm like, y'all don't need to know all the other details. That's done. Okay.
Yes, tell everything.
Right. But I do journal. I still love journaling. Like I said before, I have tons. I literally have journals. So, when I do decide to write and release, it will definitely come from my journals, Yeah.
So let me say this, because when you said that you, of course, didn't see yourself writing, you were looking at more being in the education and going that route. Since I know a little bit about you, if I'm not wrong, your parents, you've learned entrepreneurship from your family. So you never still consider that, or were you doing some little side hustles while trying to start education?
No, they were entrepreneurs. And at that time, I'm looking at the products. I didn't look at writing as a entrepreneurship. I'm looking at actual products that, and not thinking writing a book is a product or whatnot. So I'm thinking like, selling, lemonade and when we had our lemonade stand, selling, those type of products. So I never thought about the writing. Again, I didn't expand my thinking past teaching. I would just focus on, I'm going to be that teacher, as again, I had that life plan and boom, never thought had writing in, in that, in my notebook of life.
Of course. Until life happened, right?
Until life happened, right?
Here we are now. What? This is your fourth
40 some years later.
And fourth book. It's
yeah,
the fourth.
It'll be the fourth book. Yeah.
She's here to serve. And just like we were talking about your nonprofit, you call selfless servings, you have always been serving, like, and even if as in education, teachers to me are giving and serving. Yeah. You've always seen like been in that world. Tell me when you started, you got your journal, you said, okay, steps to self-love, writing your 30-day journal. I've learned too that everything, and you said this earlier, is baby steps to how you start. So tell me, when you started writing it, what made you say, okay, I need to put this out there for everyone else? What made you want to, again, give it to the masses?
You know what? I believe it was one night I was just, I was doing my Truth Moment Tuesday, and I remember someone asked.
Tell us what Truth Moment Tuesday is.
Truth Moment Tuesday is every Tuesday, live on IG, and it's I switched it up this year. It was really, it started off on telling my truth of my journey over the years, and I actually started back in 2014, 2015, and I would get on Facebook and do a snippet of my truth, going through everything. And then of course over the years it progressed. And so this year I switched it up. I'm allowing people to ask me questions about, things related to relationships. And so I remember a few years ago, someone asked me, well, how did you start healing? How did you heal? How did you know that you were ready to marry again, remarry? And I thought about it. I said, well, there were steps that I had to take, and it was like, boom, hey, okay, these are actual steps. And I started writing down, and I was like, well, what did I do when I was going through, my healing process? What, like literally, what was I doing? So I just decided to hey, okay, God, I see this, and let's go with it. I really was excited about this journey because it was like, finally I get to show people that I didn't just get up and, hey, I'm writing a journal. Hey, I wrote a book. Hey, I'm doing these things. Like, there were actual things that I had to do to get to this point. I don't, and I'm taking, for me, becoming a certified relationship coach, just as yourself being a certified coach, I wanted people to understand that I was serious about this new journey. I know that it's become popular, and it's becoming trending. And I tell people, this is nothing to play with for me, because I am serious about people healing. So I didn't want people just to think that, oh, she's just another coach, she's trying to get money and clients. No. I wanted people to understand, like, this was something that I had to go through, and again, it took me a decade or so to actually put this together. So I'm like, okay, but it worked, I'm in a healing place. Now, again, that doesn't mean that you're perfect and that you're not finished healing, because every day I strive to heal and get to that level of peace, like my 92-year-old aunt, and so forth. And she actually encouraged me. She said, you will always strive to get to that peace in your life, when you, at the older you mature, and you learn life, you're going to get to that point where you're like, hey, and then by then I'm praying to really have a plethora of books and seminars or whatnot to help people get to that place of peace. But right now, we started out with 30 days. And I want people to understand it's not going to happen in 30 days. This is a habit to form, in your 30 days, so I don't want people to stress out like, oh, I got to do this it's a habit to start, in your 30 days. You're going to start over, because I had to start over, for years. It's like starting over until it becomes that habit of building that self-love. And so you can look in that mirror and say, you go, girl, as you started earlier. Hello, gorgeous, I love my curves. I love my nose, I love my personality. And so you get to that place where you're so comfortable and confident with yourself. You're like, okay, you can call me ugly all you want to.
Thank you.
I am who I am, and God loves, and I love, when you get to that point that you can walk in your authentic self, that's that self-love. And then people will know how to treat you, they would know how to treat you. Now, again, you're going to have those moments. You're going to have some setbacks, but now you have tools in place that you can go to, the resources to help you get back up, versus before where you just stayed down and you didn't know. Now you have your toolbox. And that's why I want people to understand.
Let me tell you, everything you said, if I could just hit repeat again, because that's why I love stories. I love talking to other people, because you drop so many gems. Like, one of the things I love you said is 30 days, everything won't happen in 30 days. And it's to start building that habit. So what you're saying, it's so much. And I'm trying not to talk because you got all the gems for everybody. Let me tell you again, because what we say, it was her steps. She did not just do this overnight to give us a journal, everyone. This journal is beautifully done with the right intentions, done with purpose, done from her experiences, her path, to being who she is today. All of it is critical when you want to invest in someone or invest in yourself. Investing in yourself from someone who invested in herself and putting it out there. And like you said, when you do Truth Moment Tuesdays, when that one person asks you, when one asks, I always say, I know it's a million others out there that's asking. And I love the things you have in the journal. We're not going to talk about all of it, because everyone, we want you to go out and get it, because this should be a personal thing, right?
Yeah.
And it should not have to be shared with anyone unless you choose to share it, or God put it on your place or your heart to do purpose with it for other people. Because one thing Trinette and I know her to know that to be this way, we know it's enough room out there for all of us, because we're called to people, right?
Yes, yeah. And that's my mantra. My parents instilled that in me. My parents always said God made this world large enough for all of us to eat. There's no competition, and there's no, if I know something and I know it's not gonna, it's not for me, I share it out, and God has given me now who to share it out. I share it out because, again, you have an audience, I have an audience, every other coach has an audience, and so forth. And that's the purpose of knowing your niche. For me, I knew that, there are some people who, I'm gonna specialize in marriage and dating coaching and this and relationship. I knew that wasn't for me. When he says self-love, that's what I had to follow, and I'm like, okay, Lord, self-love, everybody does self-love and self-care. But the more that I practice my craft, the more that I literally get in tune with it. It's like he continues to open up more and more about not just that, but what I endured and went through on my journey, because it entails so much. And I'm just like, oh, this is why I didn't know my self-worth. It goes back to the self-care. It goes back to the self-awareness, self-love, all of that. So when I tell, when people say, well, there's a lot of coaches, I say, yeah, I know there's a lot of coaches, but hey, everybody doesn't do self-love the way I do, And if you do it, and again, but this is just one tool, there's so many different tools that I use, I use the path as a tool, and that's why I tell people, the toolbox that I mentioned in the journal, it's not limited. You find what's best for you, you know. For me, one of my tools is having a set of friends, trusted friends such as you all, that I can go to on this journey, because and everybody may not have that, you know. So that is, again, that's something that I had to learn. You know, everybody's not your friend on the journey.
Not at all.
They're not your friend on the journey. They were friends with you in college, but your journey takes you in a different place, and they can't be the friend. And that's not a bad thing. They just unable to meet you where you are on the new journey, you know, and it's okay. And I had to learn that, you know, a lot. People like, oh, you had a lot. I didn't have a lot of friends. I love people. And I, you know, I was that person who wanted to be friends with everybody, and I also tried to take them with me, but God had to show me, not on this journey, you know.
Yes.
It's okay.
Great information, because I know I have a core group of friends that I can be honest and transparent with and tell my truth. And I got some who truly love me that I still don't tell everything to, because I can put people in their buckets. And I know everybody needs to hear all of this here, because some of them won't even listen. First of all, they love me, and I can go to them for anything, but they won't even listen. And I know the ones who are going to listen. And so,
you know, and without a doubt, like you get okay with that, you know. It's like,
I'm okay with it.
Right. You have that list. You're like, okay, well, these my friends that I know I can go hang out with and travel with. This group right here, they not. This group right here, they are, but we're gonna pray. I know this group right here, we're gonna it's okay. And my sister actually taught me that over the years, you know. And I didn't understand it at first, because I tried to lump all of my friends and associates in one group. And she used to tell me, she said, you know, Sean, she said, it's okay to have different friends for different things. And I'm like, no, but that's not. And then as I said, oh, okay, it is, because everybody's not going to mesh together. And again, it's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing.
You know, part of being on that, part of self-love is knowing the things that you like, all of your friends are not going to like. So if you want to go roller skating, you may have some friends that are not going to go to roller skating with you. You know, I'm a foodie. I like restaurants and so forth. So I do have some people that they want to stay home and cook. I'm fine with that. You know, my husband, he wants to stay home and cook. I like to go out and eat, you know. So
he's a chef. So
So I know I can't invite him all the time out, you know. So, but it's okay. That is part of that self-love journey. You know, it's knowing that, hey, again, I know who I am. And so the people around me now know who I am, you know, and again, that's just, those are just those steps. Knowing who you are.
Trinette has dropped so much. I wanted to go back into you being certified, you know, but we'll talk about that. Tell me, we're just going to give them one of your first steps. What was one of your first steps to starting that self-love? And just even today, what you're telling people would say, start here. Just start.
But the very first thing I had to do, and it's one of the exercises, I had to look in the mirror. I had a full length mirror at that time. I had to get quiet and by myself, and I had to look in that mirror, butt naked, transparent, butt naked. So I did it coming out of the shower. And this is for men and women, you know. And if you're a person that struggle with self-confidence, self-love, self-worth, it's going to be very uncomfortable, because we look good with our clothes on, we look good with certain lingerie on that we feel, you know, but when you stand in that mirror butt naked, and you're looking at yourself, you're doing a scan, a full body scan from head to toe. So that was one of my first exercise. And that actually was downloaded from God. You know, he was like, get in the mirror. And I was standing in the mirror with my clothes on, and he's like, get naked. So I'm like, to me, I'm thinking, you know, he's paraphrasing, you know, using analogy. I'm like, I'm naked. I'm, you know, releasing my truth. And it's like getting back to that start. I'm yeah, I don't know scriptures, but remember in the beginning, Adam and Eve, they were naked, right?
Yep, they were.
And nobody knew. We were not fascinated with the body and all of that stuff or whatever. We were focused according to what I need to go back to Pastor G to make sure I'm saying it right. But the beginning, it was Adam and Eve, and they were focused on God's word, right? And everything else came about. And so for me, I knew that a lot of my insecurities came from society. So that was my first step. I had to look in that mirror. I had to get butt naked, and I had to examine who God created. I had to look at the flaws. I had to look at the scars. I had to look at like everything, my belly, the rolls, everything. And did this happen in one session? Nope. Nope. Every day I had to get out that shower and face that mirror. And that was the hardest beginning. That was the most challenging beginning. So it did not happen after one bath. No, because the very first time I did it, I looked in the mirror and I was like, okay, I'm good. And I put clothes on. I was like, okay, well, I'm good. I'm fine. And then every day on the journey, I had to look in that mirror. And then to the point where I got comfortable of passing that mirror. And I was like, okay, girl, I see you.
Yeah.
Big butt and all.
Exactly.
Large thighs and all. I had to look in that mirror and start accepting who God created. Because it was an insult to him when, I always talk about my big head. My dad used to be like, you got the biggest head. Like, my dad was a jokester, right? If you heard him in the public, you would think he was abusive the way he was talking to us. But he was just hard like that, It was out of love. He used to call me Big Head. That was one of my nicknames. It was like, I don't know how my baby got big head. And I do. I have a big head, even, And I used to be like, you know what, Lord? That's all right. I got a big head, over time, because again, I was ashamed. I had become ashamed of my big head because I'm like, my hats wouldn't fit right, or just, just little stuff.
Of course.
And so, but again, if you don't have that self-confidence and that self-love, then you start picking at every little thing that God created. My gap, my nose, my eyebrows, my hairline, all of those little things. And God is like, oh, really? So you don't like who I created you?
Oh, wow. Yes.
Even down to your personality. It's like, oh, so, like I said earlier, I always like, why am I the nicest person? So God is like, so you don't like who I created? You don't like that I gave you this personality? Like, this is you. So no matter who you're trying to be like, that's not who you're supposed to be. So that mirror was the first step. And I want people to understand it's not a one-day assignment. It's not a one-day session with yourself. It's an ongoing until you get to the point where you can honestly look at yourself and you can speak life into you. In order for others to speak life into you, got to speak life into yourself. What's the song? You have to encourage yourself.
Yes,
you have to, because you're not gonna have people around you, and you can't rely on you're not gonna have books and affirmation cards or whatnot all the time. You got to look at yourself and say, hey, that's you. God made you. He created you. Remember, long time ago, I don't know if they still have them, but the t-shirts, God didn't create no junk, the little kids.
I remember that one.
Yeah. And it's like you have to get back to that. And so that was the first step that I remember taking on this journey. I had to get in that mirror and I had to strip down to nothing. Mind, body, and spirit, all of that. So that was for me. That was the first, and it could be different. Some people you could start at journaling, writing down, writing down all of your flaws. And I think I put that in there as well. It's a process. You can write down all of the things that you just don't like about you. And then you start.
That's the first place to start. Be truthful to yourself.
You have to be truthful. I remember also, like, I love watching other women wear their heels, right? I love heels on other women. I had to finally accept me. I cannot walk in heels. I cannot walk in heels. I have flat feet and I just always had this duck walk. I can have a sachet now. I can be real sexy and Betty.
Yeah.
I just find
But you love your sandals and them toes and
yes,
them nails done,
yes,
right?
and I love some good sneakers now. But I had to finally accept, hey, I'm just that woman that just cannot wear heels, and it's okay. And I'm just like, how many times have I struggled? I done sprained my ankle, almost broke my ankle trying to look cute because people said you're a woman and you have to wear heels.
Yeah.
You're a woman, you have to you have to wear heels in order to get a man, or you know what?
Yeah.
No, part of my self-love journey, I just can't wear heels.
I just can't wear heels.
And they look so cute on y'all.
I love a heel. But then let me tell my truth moment right now. Trinette, you can get a picture. I mean, a camera, phone, whatever. Snap a picture. Her pictures are perfect. I don't care what she says. She won't admit to it. She's not going to say it's true. Me, I need 30, 40 shots before I like one. Look, everyone, I would sit back if the Lord tell me I can grow this podcast without being out there, I wouldn't do it. I promise you.
Trust me, it's like being in the background. It's comfortable. It's comfortable, but when you have a platform such as yourself, it's time for the world to hear it.
Yes. And purpose. And you want women, you truly want people to heal, and you truly want people. You and I both know this. We want every woman living in her truth, in her knowing who she is, her self-love.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just always put ourselves on the back burner.
Yeah.
And it's time for us to stop doing that.
Yeah.
And that's what if every woman could hear this and say, okay, I need to get in that mirror, like Coach Collier said, and strip down. And you know what? And that's dealing with the outside first, because we hadn't even gone in on inside. So that journal is going to help the inside. So you got the ladies, make sure you deal with that inside. But we know the outside plays a big part too. It's like 100-100.
Yeah.
Everything needs to be dealt
with.
If you need to get a second journal, get the second journal to do one for the outside, one for the inside if you need it.
Hey, definitely. Because it's gonna be a lot. It's not gonna be a one sentence, you're not gonna do that. You're not. It's just not. I wish it was that easy, but that's part of, and again, people have to understand, especially women, we have to understand that healing is a process. Yes. And we forget that it's a process. It was a process to get to the point where you forgot about yourself. It didn't happen overnight. If you go back and look at it, it's like, where did I stop loving myself like this? Like you said, everything comes to play. And we put everything before ourselves, and we just constantly, we get to the bottom of that totem pole. We get to the bottom and the bottom. And before you know it, it's like, oh, wow, how did I get here? So that was a process. So guess what? It's going to be a process to get you back up there, And again, throughout that journey, you're going to get knocked down, but now you know how to get back up. You're going to hit the moments of, self-doubt, but now how to get back up. You're going to hit the moments of depression, but now you know how to get back up. You're going to hit that moment of, because I'm on a new journey. It's like turning 50. It's like, oh, wait a minute, things are changing. It's a different attitude now. So even with that is a process, and you have to kind of like, oh, wait a minute, I have to regroup now. The self-love. So we're constantly learning, but now it's like I have enough resources where I don't have to deal with what I was dealing with when I was 20 something,
Thank you.
I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to sit here and keep comparing myself, to other women, or I don't have to beat myself up because I'm not the size 2, 3, 4, or now it's not even a 2, 3. It's now having the slim waist and the big bottom and all. I don't have to do that anymore.
I don't have to do that. Yes, exactly.
I don't have to worry about that. And sometimes it's easy, I know trends come about, and sometimes you find yourself, getting caught up in that's what the social media is doing, and that's where the women are looking made up all the time. Let me tell you, I love the glamorous look. I love getting glam. That I do like getting glam, but I also love me a good baseball hat.
Yes.
And some sneakers, sweatpants, a sweatshirt, and a hoodie. No
Yes.
lashes, no lip, none of that, and it's okay. It's
It is okay.
okay. You know, you
Yes.
don't have to be, and that's one of the messages I want women to understand as part of that self-love. You don't have to be what the world wants you to be.
Exactly. It comes again with doing the work within yourself
Yeah.
to know I like me for who I
Yeah.
am. I'm not, you like you said, I like to get glammed up too. It's just that, okay, I'm going to be okay, Arlene style glammed
Yes.
up. I'm
Yes.
not saying I can't learn from Trinette and
Right.
get some things that
Right.
benefit me,
Yeah.
but it's going to be still because I love what Trinette had or did or
Yeah.
suggested. And then I choose to do it for Arlene. It's not
Right.
because I'm trying to be like Trinette,
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's a good point. And another point you said that was so good. With the steps you did to love yourself, you have to go back to that place where something changed in your life or made you stop looking at yourself. Because I heard this one young lady said, babies don't have no image of who they are. They love their roles, they love everything about themselves. They love you for who you are. And that's sometimes we need to go back to that frame of mind. And then you have to do the work as you write down in your journal, what was the first thing that made me stop and look at myself differently? Just to what you said. And I'm like, that is so important to go back to that first place. And everyone, I'm telling you, you have to get this journal. Trinette and I can talk all day. I can continue. If you go back to episode 3, we had a part 1 and a part 2. I'm trying not to ever go back to that again and do that. But as you see, she's dropping so many gems. For sake of time, Trinette, I wanted to ask this because I want to go back to everything you said, but I can't. So I've read on some of the benefits in journaling and why we should start today. And some of the things I read, and I wanted to know if these were some of your same, the things that help you. Sometimes they say journaling reduces stress. And, and I know it can be very stressful in the beginning, maybe depending on what you're journaling. It can be very traumatic to write some things down. I don't profess to say everything is going to be easy, but they say start with with the things you're grateful for, at least if it's hard. And if you're not seeing a therapist or a certified coach like Trinette regard, or myself, a life coach or a therapist again. But they said journaling reduces stress. Like I said, it may boost your health and well-being. And it's a way to process emotions, I think, that you alluded to earlier. Are some of those things something that you agree to or you want to add anything?
Most definitely. I have now each Sunday, I use Sunday as my Sunday sanity, and it's a journaling step, journaling process. And I get on Facebook or so, and I talk about the journaling process, and I let people know it's journaling should not be complicated and it should not be stressful, but it's a way of releasing. So yes, I agree with that. There are going to be some things when I tell people, as a life coach, and as well, we're not your therapist. We're not therapists, but we give you strategies. And one of the strategies is, journaling and writing it down. And some things it is difficult to write down, but you're starting it. And so I always encourage people, if there's a traumatic experience that you're just not ready to release, you can start with one word, believe it or not. You can start with one word in that journal, and that would be the beginning of your release. And I do, again, I'm an advocate of therapists and so forth, prayer and therapists. And I always suggest to people, if there is a traumatic experience, you definitely need to seek some type of professional help. And you can use the journaling as a tool as well. But yes, I definitely agree. It should not be stressful. It should help release the stress,
Exactly.
So that is the purpose of it. And, I also tell people, don't make it complicated. Don't worry about subject, verb, agreement, noun, all of that. Don't worry about punctuation.
Thank you. I needed that.
Right.
That's right.
Just right. Let that pen flow. Just let your thoughts, like it. And when you look back at it, you'll be like, "Oh, let me go back and put the period there." Don't do that.
No,
Just let the words
it's
flow.
stress-free. It's
Yeah,
a
just
stress-free
stress-free.
place. Exactly.
I don't
Yes.
capitalize anything in my journal most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't. I
Okay.
just write, And
Mhm.
sometimes I'm like, okay, I can't really read out what did I just write? But I got it out, because I'm
Yes.
writing. But don't worry. I tell people, don't worry about the grammar, you know,
Mhm.
use words that we mispronounce in public, write it out, you know.
Spell it the way you want
Spell
to.
it.
It's your
It's
journal.
your journal. There's no right or wrong in journaling. That's
Yeah,
the beauty of journaling. That's one
it
reason
is.
I love it, because it is a freedom. It's a freedom of
It is.
expression, you know.
I love that. And like you said, and I agree, it's start small.
Yeah.
This journal is going to be our first step,
Yeah.
everyone, to getting our lives together
Yeah.
and walking in that self-love. Self-love to me, I've read where it helps us to start taking more risks. It helps us to say, okay, this is who I'm called to be. I'm called to be a writer.
Yeah.
So if you want that step to say, I'm not doing what I've loved doing, and it's something gnawing at you in the background that you gave up or you don't know what it is right now, I bet this journey will help you start to figure some of that stuff. It will come full circle to do what you called to do, just like Trinette, who didn't think she would be writing today.
Did not.
So, Trinette, let me tell you, I can keep going, but I want to let everybody know Trinette does a lot. I know I when I gave her bio, she said some of the things that I read, some of the things that she does, but I didn't talk about her 2 podcasts that she has. But then I want her to talk about that and all the things, say everything that you do right now today, how we can catch it, how we can listen, any events, seminars you have coming up. Because again, this lady does everything, everyone. She's an entrepreneur. So please share with us what you have going on and all about your podcast.
Thank you. So look,
and how we can get your book.
Listen, everything is on IamTrinetteLCollier.com. You go onto that website, you can purchase the journal, you can purchase the book, Woman on Fire, and self-love paraphernalia and so forth. And everything that I'm doing, when I look back, I want to make sure that it's all cohesive. I'm not one of those entrepreneurs that got 50 million things, everything that I'm doing is cohesive, and it has the message of self-love, building the self-love. So everything, you can connect with me on IamTrinetteLCollier.com. I have a few things that's coming up, of course, on my Sunday Sanity. That's at 7:00 that p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday. And it's live either on IG or Facebook, and it's just a snippet of the journaling process. Every Tuesday is my Truth Moment Tuesday. And if you want a question to be answered, if you have a question to ask about this self-love journey, you can email me at TrinetteLCollier@gmail.com, or you can DM me or, contact me. And again, give me your question and I'll answer it truthfully. But I do have one event that's coming up for February. It is the 28 Days of Dance Challenge. It's a dance celebration that is part of self-love journey, because again, dancing brings the joy and the peace, and it it improves the self-confidence, which is all connected to the self-love. So it's not a stressful challenge. We're not learning the TikTok challenges or whatever. We're just dancing. You're just going to dance. You're going to pick your songs, a 3 to 5 minute or 7 minute song, and you're going to just dance that duration of that song. And it also helps with exercising, because again, dancing is exercise. I'm the person that I don't like the gym. That's one thing I finally accepted. I don't like the gym. I don't like exercising, but I love dancing. So, so we're going to do that for 28 days, starting on February the 1st, all the way to the 28th. And you're just going to take that 5-10 minutes of your day and dance. And it's a freedom. It's free. You can do it wherever, you want to, and wherever, you're just going to dance. So that is coming up, and just be on the lookout on the website for that. And of course, again, you can get the journal on the website and so forth. But I and then the Woman on Fire podcast. That's on the website as well, sharing the women in their testimonies of triumphs, and it's so when I don't think I do a lot. I'd be like, no, but when I do sit back, I'm like, you know what? I do a lot. And and I'm like you, Arlene, because we want women to heal. And it's like God has given us this platform, he's given these things to do. And it's like, sometimes you're like, okay, God, you want me to do what? All right. Because believe it or not, the dance, I love dancing. So I wasn't trying to get views and it's just, hey, I just need to release this stress today. As an entrepreneur, I'm dealing with some things and let me, dance. And it brings joy. All of a sudden, I get inbox messages. I get messages, sis, you should do. I said, no, I'm good. I'm just dancing. No, that inspired me. I'm just dancing. And I thought about it. I said, okay, God, you don't just have me dancing just to be dancing, obviously, because again, for those that really know me, I'm very private. I am a private person. I like social media. I like looking at other folks. I like people watching, but I don't like the spotlight on me like that, So, but I'm thankful for it because again, God has given us life, and I made a promise to God long time ago when He brought me out of depression and whatnot, that I would live my best life. I would dance as much as I could. So when you make them promises, He reminds you.
Like, okay. Yeah, you said if I told you, okay, I'm telling you to do this.
Right.
It's making people smile. It's making my people happy. So
and I'm like, oh, so that's what you're gonna do me, Lord. Okay. Because I'm like, I promise you, I ain't say, to nobody else. But it does bring a joy. And it is part of this self-love journey, because let's be honest, you're not gonna sometimes you just don't feel like reading nothing. You don't feel like you just don't want you want your mind to, just to flow. So dancing is part of that journey of just letting your mind flow.
Yeah. I love that, Trinette. And I may try to do one, Lord have mercy. Hey, it could be my girl Mary J. Blige.
Yes.
Blige. It could be Good Morning. I know I can't dance much to that one. Good
you
Morning, Gorgeous. Or I love Just Fine. No,
there
Just Fine is my other.
There you go.
Oh, and I got the ones from back in the day now. See, I'm telling you.
See,
oh, now what's that?
It's a challenge. It's live. Now you said it now in public. You got to give me at least one day on that challenge.
One day. I'm going to have to do one day. One day, everyone.
One day,
wow. Okay. The path.
Dance.
So tell us, did you tell us about the show, the radio show that you do on Saturday?
You know what? I see.
Because let me tell you, everyone, because I love what she does, her heart for men.
Yeah.
She doesn't also have just a heart for women, but there's a reason why you do it for men.
Yeah.
And tell us about that.
It is called The Mail Room, and it's MALE, The Mail Room, Messages from Him with Tashawn and Friends. And it is still part of that self-love journey, but it's just from the male perspective, because again, we forget as that men are human too. They have gone through, we focus in, and I know God has given you the platform for women, and I thought it was just for women, for me as well. But again, He put this in my path to do for men, and I'm like, okay, Lord. But it all goes in with self-love, and it's been amazing journey. So that broadcast is every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the internet station, 101tklradio.com. And so I have the pleasure of being surrounded by positive men who are who are dealing with the same things that we're dealing with, self-love, self-worth issues and whatnot. But it's a safe space for them as well to talk freely and to, be their authentic selves, So it's been amazing because I look at men differently now.
That's why I love that platform. That's why everyone, again, you see, it's not just for women. She has a strong heart for women. She also has a strong heart for men. That's why, because Trinette, you are the coach of love.
Oh.
You truly, it is just love. It's not just one gender for you. It is truly love. So everybody, everything she has said, and the person she was trying to change herself from being, because she see the love of positivity in everybody, it all comes back to when we hear what all you do.
Yeah.
You're not just called to one group, you're called to people. So it is a wonderful thing just to know that. And everyone, let me tell you, she had her second year where she did a what is it called when you did it for
the listening party.
The listening party.
Yeah. So
you have to remember, if you're in the Atlanta, Georgia area, I'm sure she has season 3 or the third one coming out.
Third one's coming up. Details will be coming soon about that. Just know that the color is gold this year.
The color is gold this year.
Gold outfits together. But that is another form of self-love. You know, it's a very eventful night, and I thank y'all so much for supporting it. Again, this was given to me by God. You know, everything I do has a purpose, and it's just really allowing the men just to talk freely, and we listen. You know, we always want the men to listen to us. So, you know, it's like,
and we ask the questions, and we get the response from the men.
Right.
And we just sit and listen.
Yeah. So it's amazing. And again, I don't know about you, Arlene. Sometimes when God gives you things, you question it, and you try, you know, for the longest. I know, like with you with the path, you tried for the longest to get away from it, but we're like, no, God gave you that. And so you keep running away from it, but then you're like, in one way or another, you have to give in. You have to surrender, you know, to his, because overall, if we're always talking about kingdom building, you know, we love to throw that out, and God is like, okay, well, you keep saying you want a kingdom build, so here you go.
Yeah, here you go. So tell me what else is going on. That's I want to make sure we get
that. Actually, I have a lot that's going on, but this the next step. The 28 days, and you know how your mind's just constantly rolling, and you're like, okay, I do, you know, the noonday nuggets, that's every other Monday, and that's on the entrepreneurship journey. You know, again, it ties into building that self-love, because again, when you're doing things, we have a habit of, and I always include me, because again, I had to go through it, and some stuff I'm still, you know, evolving in, but we do things for the sake of people, and we're not being true to ourselves. So, and we miss out on a lot. I have missed out, and I can honestly say I've missed out on a lot in my, you know, younger years, young adulthood, because I was a people pleaser. Yeah. Bottom line. And that's not self-love. You cannot. That's not at all self-love. You know,
because you cannot please everybody.
No. And I won't say I messed up, but that was something that triggered me into going into the self-love. Like I was a people pleaser, so I missed out trying to fit into what people wanted me to be and do. So, you know, again, this journey is, I want people, like you stated earlier, I want women to be their authentic selves. Bottom line, I want you to heal. Life is so good. Life is gonna happen, but life is really good. And I promise God, every day He wake me up, I'm like, Lord, wake me up. I'm gonna give it my best. You know, I'm praying longevity. But while I'm here, I want to just live on purpose. You know, just really do the things that I'm supposed to.
You can work with you. You do a discovery call.
I do a discovery call. And again, I am certified. So I did go through a year's program. And that was an investment, you know, from I'm not saying anything about anybody else's coaching program. You know, when you invest in a coaching program, you're serious about it, right? Yes. And so this was no $49.99 coaching, y'all.
Exactly.
That's what I'm trying to say.
My certification is certified.
I remember when you told me about right. I remember when you shared who you went through, and I was like, "Ooh, serious about that thing." I'm like,
Yes, I
oh,
invested in me,
yes,
so I can invest in others.
yes. So you are a certified coach.
We are a
Yes.
certified. You,
So when I
we
saw,
both.
when I remember when you told me, I said, oh, that's a big, okay. And so I want people to understand. Now, again, I'm not, but I just want people to know that this how serious I am about it, and this is how vested I am, in it, because you have to invest in your craft.
Yeah.
Especially if you're serious about the what you want done. And again, I want to see women healed. And so I can't be shucking and jiving and half giving you information, and I'm over here.
Exactly.
That ain't gonna work. No. So
Exactly.
you're serious about your coaching. I'm serious about my coaching. And that's what I love about you and the path. It's like, no, this is the path. Hey, I'm invested in this. This is not another podcast. This is
Yes.
this is serious, So I applaud you and I thank you for your platform, because again, it's so powerful. I enjoy it. The women you have on they inspire me, and so I want you to continue to keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah, everybody, I think they were surprised that I'm still doing it, to be honest. Because
you ran away from it.
I ran away from it. And I tell you, Trinette, I'm seriously trying to figure out how to go to that once a week. I take my hat off to the podcast and you, for example.
Yeah.
I take my hat off to you all who do it weekly, because everyone, you have to love what you do.
Yeah.
To do this weekly. And I've read what they say when you start, the person I learned from as well. I invested in that too, to learn to do what I'm doing. And I probably need to go in, because like you said, but even with doing self-love, it's almost like you have to rinse and repeat. You have to keep going back to those things and say, okay, let me refresh.
Right.
Let me get some more knowledge from this person.
Right.
Because we never stop growing.
Right.
And I know I don't know it all. Exactly. And I know it's some things I can improve on.
Yeah.
So, so one thing she always said, be consistent.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'm going to start with this bi-weekly thing. Let me be consistent. So I need to work on eventually trying to go to the weekly podcast. But everybody, again, in my truth, I'm going to do it when Arlene can.
There you go.
I'm not like Trinette, and I'm not like anyone else who can do it weekly, because it takes time and planning to do the thing.
Yeah.
This is not no fly by the night, because we are both serious about the people we bring on, the guests, what we offer.
Yeah.
This is not a joke for me.
Right.
And it's not a joke for you. So I take it too serious to play with this. Even with Trinette, I know her, but I sat down and everything she really said, I didn't even have to go through some of what I read online about self-love, because she already said it, because she knows it is her. She's an expert in this part. And I just know from life, it all resonated with me. Yeah. And it resonated when I read what even the therapists say. They said the same thing you were saying. So that's why sometimes, let me tell y'all, even though she and I will always tell you to go to get a therapist if you need one, we know being certified in what we're called to do too. Life certifies us sometimes with something.
Right.
But we did the extra step even to put it all together so we can make sure that we're not here to hurt anybody if they did come to us. Yeah. We want to help you and not hurt you, meaning hurt you to make it not help you, at least in this journey somewhat. But you have to be intentional about your own healing as well. Yeah. You can do what we've been taught, but you got to come in open and to learning and hearing what we're saying and offering to help you get to that next step for whatever it is.
Exactly.
Let me tell you, it's so much I wanted to say, but I can't say anymore because Trinette has given us everything we needed to know. I wanted to make sure before I end the show, Trinette, are there any last words that you wanted to offer? Or if you got anything that you want to share, if I didn't ask a question regarding steps to self-love.
I just thank you, Arlene, so much for, allowing me to share this, moment with you all. And again, for February, it's 28 days. There will be a special sale on the website for the S.T.E.P.S journal, which will happen on the 1st. Last words. I just want people just to heal and be okay with their healing process. Again, life is going to happen. It has happened to the both of us. Mm-hmm. And I want women to understand that is not the end of your story. It's not the end. Divorce, abuse, self-hate is not the end of your story. As long as God gives you life, as long as he wakes you up every morning, you give it your best. You just really give it your best. And that best is going to look like however it is for you. It's not going to look like Coach Tashawn. It's not going to look like Coach Arlene, but you make it your best. You know how people say, live your life, living your life. What is it?
Like it's golden or your best life?
Living your best life. And people think you got to go out and travel and spend money and you're doing all this. That may be their best life. But what does your best life look like? If it means taken a walk every day on a nature trail, that's your best life. Do it.
Yes.
Just be you. Be your authentic self. That is self-love. And that's pretty much my message I want women to get. Just be you. It's just time to be you,
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying being me now. I love me. I'm like
it's
me.
freedom.
It is. And y'all, and I can honestly say you all have taught me that this circle, just you've taught me how to be myself. And it's okay.
And we've all learned from each other. So we get great group of ladies that we are in this group together, and we all learn from each other. We can look at the other person and compliment the other person where we know their strengths are, and keep it moving. And we can laugh at each other. We have one, and I couldn't tell you it's the pastor that normally laughs at us, but it's I put it out there already. But we can laugh at each other sometimes and just keep it moving, because we know it doesn't come from a place of hurt and harm. It comes from just a place of love and fun. We just love to have fun and laugh.
Let me say this. Find something to laugh about.
Yes.
Please find something to laugh and smile about. I don't go to sleep without finding something. Find something to laugh, to smile about. Something. Yes. You gotta laugh.
You gotta laugh. And like I told me and you talked once before, and I said, I would have loved for my podcast just to be about laughing, because y'all, I am silly. I love to laugh because we're such positive people. I love the lighter side of life, I always say. And to think I would be talking to women about some hard topics. I hate it. To have to do that. But what gives me joy is to know she came out of it and she can laugh today. So that's where the laughter always come into play. Because I would love to just do fun podcasts. I would just have gone through this Mary J. Blige Good Morning Gorgeous song and talk about that because those are the things I love. And hey, when this podcast we might get to a point where we start and do that 5-minute dance, she said, there you go. on the back end.
There you go.
So you can hear, if you had not heard the song Good Morning Gorgeous, shout out to Mary J. Blige for that. Go check it out. Ladies, go get Steps to Self-Love, your 30-day journal. I promise you, you are not going to, you won't be disappointed. It's such a beautiful journal. And we want to offer, if you go to her page, and even if I don't know how they could do it, we'll put it on social media. The first person who said that they heard this interview on the Path podcast, we're going to gift you from me the Steps to Self-Love, a 30-day journal to building self-love. We're going to gift that to you. And I hope you go out and get it, support her. She has merchandise on there, like she says. Follow her on social media. You go to her website. She has all of that information on how you can follow her. And thank you, Trinette.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm super proud of you. Thank you.
So everyone, let's end the show this way. Self-love tells us that we are already divine just as we are. And I love to start ending the show with something my guest said. And she said, my hope is that within the journal, you will learn how to identify and relate soul ties that have kept you stagnant and stuck. Identify broken relationships with others so you can rebuild healthy relationships, and identify your self-worth so you can love yourself the way God loves you. Remember, one day at a time is all it takes. This journal will help you do just that. It's all about you living your best life that God intended you to live. Path listeners, invest in yourself and get this journal. If you don't need to get it for your daughter, if you don't need it, get it for your daughter, your sister, your friend, your neighbor, somebody out there you know needs this first step to taking charge of her life and her love for self again. So until next time, everyone, thank you again, Trinette.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging with us. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and other platforms, so you can stay up on our bi-weekly, real conversations with these bold women. You can follow the Path Podcast on Facebook at the Path Podcast and on Instagram and Twitter at the Path_podcast. And if you would like to be a guest on the show or have questions for a future show, you can email us at thepath4ward@gmail.com. That's thepathforward@gmail.com. And if you're looking for a speaker or you're in need of a life coach, please reach out to me. Again, at thepathforward@gmail.com or at ACKORLEH@gmail.com. Thank you. Until next time.